you, Dave. So today for Mission Spot, and for those of you who don't know what Mission Spot's about, it's about our being on mission and reminding ourselves that that is what we're on about, and equipping ourselves to do that. But today for Mission Spot, what I want to do is continue the series of spots based on The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self by Carl Trueman I started a few weeks ago. And today, what I want to do is talk about what Carl Trueman says, and he draws on philosopher Charles Taylor in order to do that, and it's about something he calls the immanent frame. Now, the word immanent is just that. It's a word that means near, and it's the opposite of that is transcendent. So what the immanent frame merely is a phrase to capture a kind of phenomenon in our culture, Western culture, about the inability to talk about anything transcendent. Things about God and spirituality, things about meaning, beyond what we see and observe, anything that is beyond the immanent near frame. And I think we all know that to be true. We all know the difficulty of bringing up anything that is spiritual in nature in conversation. You can talk 10 minutes with someone at work talking about the weather, what the kids are doing currently, what they did for Christmas, but never really go beyond this point and talk about things that are transcendent. Now, the reason why we have this phenomenon called the immanent frame is something that is a bit of a complex story, but one of the main things that have contributed to that is the decline of something in the last few hundred years that philosophers call metaphysics. Meta is Greek for after or beyond. So metaphysics is about talk about any universe that's beyond what's physical. And basically, there was once upon a time when everyone thought that things in the world were rooted in things that were beyond this universe, metaphysical worlds. Even when people weren't Christian or Jew, people had some kind of worldview that maybe some deity ruled the world. Gods at least gave meanings for why things were, even if they were wrong, like a failed harvest was due to the lack of sacrifices. But when Christianity came in, obviously Western metaphysics was transformed to largely Christian worldview, meaning that meaning was derived from the Bible. But when it came to the Enlightenment period, around the 17th and 18th centuries, what we had was basically all metaphysical assumptions were done away with. Basically what happened was that any appeal to any kind of divine authority beyond what we could see was deemed unnecessary. So, there's no reason to believe in God if evolution is true. We all heard that one. And so when we come to our age, we come to an age that dismisses anything that is from a sacred order, and we don't even have to do that consciously to dismiss that. That just happens unconsciously for people. Now, Carl Trueman talks about how this phenomenon is something that's really enabled the sexual revolution, because any reference to an order around sex is rejected outright, because that's something the Bible teaches, and that's not needed. But why I want to bring up this thing today is not so much to analyse our culture, so much as to analyse our church culture. How often do we find it today that we find it awkward? We find it awkward to talk about things concerning God, even around Christians. Even after our meal here in Kempsey, I find it hard to talk about things that are transcendent. Move past conversation about what we did on holidays. Now, I'm not saying that we should abandon small talk and then aggressively go in and talk about things that really matter, but what I wanted us to be able to do is recognise that this is a phenomenon. And it's a foreign phenomenon. It hasn't been here for the last few hundred years. And we struggle with it, particularly as living part of this age. And if we want to do better at having conversations with people out there with transcendent conversations, a training ground with how to do that better is actually here right in front of you. This is a training ground to have transcendent conversations. Now, let me just clarify. This is not just a skill problem. It's not some training we pick up and then we turn on some skill whenever we have a conversation. This is actually about a heart change. We need to be transformed by the Spirit to become more godly people, and that fundamentally changes everything, every way we approach life. But if I might just give one thing that helps us do better at this is if we recognize the truth of the book of Ephesians. You might say, why Ephesians? Well, Paul says in Ephesians, look carefully how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time because the days are evil. Take up the whole armour of God that you may be able to withstand in the evil day. See, what we need to recognise is that this immanent frame that we're in is a work of the devil. And we need to put the whole armour of God on if we're going to be successfully standing up against it. In Ephesians, he also says, pray at all times in the Spirit. Pray also for me that words may be given to me, opening my mouth boldly to proclaim the mystery of the gospel. So what we need to do is pray. Pray. Reach out to God in prayer that he might give us the right words at the right time. And as long as we have this thing called the immanent frame, we can't get past it, that is always going to be a good litmus test for us as to how much we need to rely on God still to be bold and to love others in this evil day. So that's my next installment of these mission spots based on this book. We're going to be wise to how the world's been influenced and damaged by detrimental philosophies. And we need to combat that, not with our flesh, by the work of the Spirit of God. Thank you.